I want to welcome you all to the big house. This is a working fire station, so we would appreciate it if you didn't stand in front of the fire trucks. They may have to go out, and please be cognizant of standing in the street. My name is Jay Colbert. I'm a district vice president for the International Association of Firefighters, and I also serve as the public employee vice president for the Massachusetts AFL-CIO, representing 230,000 public employees across the Commonwealth. You know, the big money interests who have been backing this Janus versus AFSCME case since its inception know full well that this is a blatant attack on the power of working people. But they paraphrase it in catchy little narratives like right to work and protection of individual freedoms. But they also know that people who aren't in labor unions are less likely to attend rallies like this, less likely to walk a picket line, less likely to sign a petition. So it's their whole intent to, and I'll use their quote, to defund and defang public employee unions through this Janus case. You're going to hear from a lot of giants in both the labor field and the political field who aren't buying into this false narrative. But before we get started and hear from those individuals, I'd like you all to help me welcome up the Reverend Valerie Copeland from the Neighborhood Church of Dorchester, who is also a proud member of SEIU Local 509. Valerie.
Thank you. Good afternoon, beloved. Let us pray. Creator God, we gather today to raise our voices on behalf of every working person. We gather as people of conscience and goodwill. We are diverse, but with singularity of purpose, to rise up together, to rise up against efforts to limit the power we have as working people. We rise up to honor the 50-year legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as he joined sanitation workers to fight for the freedom to join together in a union for dignity and respect on the job. Bless us as we seek dignity and respect for all working people. Today, each of us declares, I am a man. Creator God, we seek justice from the State House to the White House to the United States Supreme Court. Our Declaration of Independence says that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We hold true that it is the dignity of a well-paid job that provides life without financial worry, liberty from the circumstance of not having enough, and the happiness of knowing that you're being paid a fair wage. May this be so for every working woman and man. Creator God, bless us as we stand in solidarity and to resist the agenda of those who would seek to divide us. Steady us for the battles ahead and help us to remember that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it ultimately bends towards justice. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Our first speaker needs no introduction. He's been advocating for working families for over 40 years. First, as a young labor leader with the Railway Workers Union, then as a 17-year elected member of the Massachusetts State House. Since 2011, Steve Tolman has been the president of the Massachusetts AFL-CIO, and we have no better advocate, no more passionate leader to lead the 400,000 members of the Massachusetts AFL-CIO than Steve Tolman. Come on up, Steve.
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. There we go. That's a little better. What a crowd. Thank you for being here, all of you. Thank you. Today, all across the Commonwealth, brothers and sisters, from Boston to Springfield, New Bedford to Amherst, and Lawrence to Worcester, working people are speaking out at rallies like this to say, America needs union jobs. Today, in communities and workplaces all across Massachusetts, 100,000 union members are wearing stickers just like you see here today, and we are part of Working America's Working People's Day. This is a day of action, and it is happening all around the country. Brothers and sisters, we are rising up against the case that's being argued today before the U.S. Supreme Court, Janice versus AFSCME. We are rising up because we know that this is a case that is about freedom to unite for better jobs, for a better country, and for a better life. We know that the city of Boston will rise up with good union jobs, jobs that pay good wages and good benefits, jobs with dignity and workplace protections, jobs that strengthen our communities, brothers and sisters, and help to close the gap on economic, gender, and racial inequality. In Boston today and all around America, we are telling our stories. Stories about how union teachers fight for quality education. How union firefighters and police fight for public safety and safer communities. How union healthcare workers and nurses demand better quality of health for all the citizens. Or our union social workers and transit drivers fight for the public good every day of their life. Today is about the freedom to stand together in union in every workplace, in every industry, public sector, private sector. We have all kinds of people here today. We have the construction trades here. We have electricians, carpenters, painters, laborers, and more. We have baggage handlers here, brothers and sisters, and cabin cleaners and skycaps from Logan Airport. And they are here, and they are trying to organize with SEIU 32BJ. And they're trying to organize because they know that having a union is a key to a better life. We are also standing here today because our elected officials who believe in protecting the freedom of working people to join a union because America needs good union jobs. Brothers and sisters, today's economy is rigged against working people in favor of the wealthy and the powerful. That's not by accident. Corporate CEOs and the politicians who do their bidding have written the rules in favor of their own special interest. And now those same corporate billionaires have taken the case, Janice versus AFSCME, to the Supreme Court. And it's not done to help us. But we won't back down, brothers and sisters. We won't give up. Working men and women will stand up for the freedom to join together in strong unions because we know that together we have the power to make a better future. Brothers and sisters, I am proud to bring up Jessica Tang, who's the Boston Teachers President, newly elected, and we are so excited to have in the AFL-CIO as one of our new vice presidents. Let's give it up for Jessica Tang of the Boston Teachers Union.
Always hard to follow, Steve, but I'm really proud to be here with you all today because we're standing up for workers and we're standing up for our unions that are fighting for workers every single day. And we're here to send a message to the Supreme Court in our country that we are going to continue to stand strong and stand together. And so we actually have not just words to share today, but a specific declaration we're asking everyone to sign. And here's what this declaration says. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect nation, are united across the country to demand that freedom to form strong unions be protected as a sacred American right. As the United States Supreme Court considers arguments in Janice versus AFSCME, we ask that the justices remember that an attack on democracy in the workplace is an attack on the democratic bedrock of the United States of America. And working people must be free to join together in unions for good jobs and strong communities, and to build a nation where wealthy CEOs and special interests are no longer able to rig the economic and political rules in their favor at the expense of the public good. Now, how does that sound? Are you with us? We are, you know why? Because Boston is a union town. So we need to say it loud and say it proud. Boston's a what?
Union town.
Boston's a what? One more time. Boston's a what? That's right. So at this point, I'm really glad to introduce one of the many public sector workers you'll be hearing from today. My brother here today, Johnny McInnes, is a longtime Boston Public Schools teacher, a music teacher, and also Boston Public School parent. And he has a story to share today about why his membership in his union has made a difference in his life. And so I'm going to grab the pledge from him. Please make sure you sign it as we're here today and pass it off to Johnny. Please welcome Johnny McInnes.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. We are here to fight for good union jobs that our communities need. You see, I grew up in North Carolina, which is a right-to-work state. I lived in Fayetteville and became a music teacher teaching in the public school system. Teachers came and went, and the pay was low. And you may also note that teachers are paid once a month in this state. We had poor benefits and a lack of resources for teachers. We had no union, no rights or protections. We had no organized way to push for better working conditions or more resources for our students in the schools. During this time, I had a part-time job at UPS, which means I was a Teamster. I kept my job at UPS while teaching because my benefits as a part-time union member exceeded what I earned as a full-time teacher. 23 years ago, I began teaching here in Boston. I quickly learned the benefits of the union for me and for the community as a whole. I saw the benefits of a union contract, comparable to the teachers in North Carolina with no union and earn less than I do here, with no protections and less benefits. But as a teacher, it is not about money. It is about our students and education. Our union not only works to improve working conditions, but also helps to improve public education. Over the years, we have fought for smaller class size, school safety, and funding for public schools. Through our union, we help provide stability for teachers and continuity for our students. Through our union, we make our communities better. We are stronger when we work together. That's what several charter school teachers knew when they joined with the Boston Teachers Union recently. There are some that want to turn the clock back on unions and divide us, but we have proven that we are stronger together. We are not alone. People all over Massachusetts are speaking out against the attacks on unions, and we are raising our voices here. Thank you. I want to leave with this chant. Say it loud. We're Boston proud.
Boston proud.
Boston is a union town.
Boston is a union town.
Say it loud.
Say it loud.
Boston proud.
Boston proud.
Boston is a union town.
Boston is a union town. Thank you, brother. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the most dedicated trade unionist I have known my whole life, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Greater Boston Labor Council, Rich Rogers.
Thank you very much, Steve. What a magnificent show of solidarity. We're proving once again that solidarity is not just a slogan in Boston, it's a way of life. So thank you, everyone that showed up today. We're also sending another message. No Supreme Court decision will stifle the voice of workers seeking dignity and justice on the job with the union. And our final message is, Boston is a union city today, it will be a union city tomorrow, and it will be a union city forever. Boston is a union town. Now it is my privilege to introduce a man who was born with a union card in his pocket. He believes in us, and we believe in him. Just a few months ago, the voters of Boston gave him an overwhelming mandate with a second term, and they embraced his vision of Boston where everybody matters. They rewarded his passion for making Boston City where everyone is welcome and everyone deserves respect. Please welcome our wonderful Mayor, Martin J. Walsh.
Thank you, Rich. I want to thank Rich and the Greater Boston Labor Council for all the incredible work they're doing, particularly right now. I want to thank Steve Tolman, AFL-CIO, and all the executive board members. I want to thank AFSCME Council 93, Frank Maroney's here, and his members. I want to thank one of the greatest general presidents in the country, Lee Saunders, who you're going to hear from in a minute from AFSCME. I'd say the greatest, but my guy would get mad, so I don't want to do that. I want to thank the firefighters, Engine 10, and in particular, Local 718. Richie, where's Richie Paris? Thank you, Richie. Thank you very much for what you do. Eddie Kelly, thank you for what you do down the International, and all the firefighters. Before I get started, I want to thank also all the private unions that are here today supporting your brothers and sisters in the public movement. Thank you for being here. Building Trades, thank you for being here. Elections matter. Elections matter. When you go to the polls in November, think about who you're voting for. Think about who's going to have your back when you need it. There are some people in Washington that don't have our back today, and some of our members voted for that person. You got to think about how elections affect you, how elections affect your families, how elections affect your working conditions, everything that your collective bargaining agreements. As we think about what we move forward, we have an election coming up. We have a senior senator from Massachusetts that has a few people making noise against her. Let's not take it for granted. Let's make sure we hit the streets today and start talking about why we need to make sure the people that elect us in public office understands the importance of working class people, understands the importance of the middle class, understands the importance of what we're fighting for today. Today's not a labor rally, by the way. Today is about how do we preserve people's rights. And to all the public employees here and across our country, the police, the EMS, the teachers, the librarians, the drivers and the machinists, the inspectors and the engineers, the healthcare workers and the clerical workers, you help make our city run. You help make our state run. And you help make our nation run. And we say thank you to you for doing that. Public employees also move our nation forward. As was said earlier, 50 years ago this month, the sanitation workers in Memphis went on strike. They stood up for their humanity as black Americans. They stood up for the rights of the workers. They wanted to join AFSCME, and they did. They got their rights, and they inspired a nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. went there to support them. He told them, all labor has dignity. He was with them on April 3rd, the night before he died, when he said, I have been to the mountaintop. He was inspired by city workers fighting for their rights. He knew the power of workers and the power they had to change the world. In Boston, we believe all labor has dignity. I learned that early in my labor family. I do have a union book in my pocket, and I'm proud of that book. And I'm proud of the work when my father came to this country. He joined the union. And I'm proud the union that my father joined allowed him to put food on the table, allowed him to pay his mortgage, allowed him to raise his 2 kids, allowed one of his kids who was sick to be able to use their health care to be treated for cancer at the age 7. I followed my father to that union, and when I needed that union for health care, because I ran into some personal problems, you know what? I had health care that allowed me to get the help I needed. That was because my father joined Labor's Local 223 when he came out from Ireland. As a mayor, I see the work our public employees do every day. When Jake was up here, he was talking about we might get a 911 call because this truck behind me might be getting a call to go to a building where people are running out as the firefighters are running in. When it snows, our public works department is out here making sure the streets are clear so we can keep our economy in our city moving forward. Our water and sewer is working to make sure that we have the cleanest drinking water in the United States of America right here in the city of Boston, and they're all public employees. Everything we do depends upon them. Together, we have achieved incredible things in this city. It all stands on the foundation of strong workers. Instead of pulling down public workers, what we should be talking about is how we pull up all workers. Instead of driving American workers, we need to learn how we pull them all together. Instead of saying us and them all the time, how about we start with we more often? As in we the people. We are all in this together. This court case is all about dividing workers. That's what this is all about. It's about driving down wages. It's about eliminating benefits. It's about eliminating work rules. And let me just say this to the private unions that are here with us today. They're starting with the public and then they're going to you next. Let's not kid ourselves. I signed the brief against this court case. I signed this letter today because honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the court rules. Workers, we can still stand together. And workers, we need to unite our voices. Workers, we need to know, and cities know, what Martin Luther King said 50 years ago in Memphis. Either we go up together or we go down together. I know it in my bones. We'll rise together. We'll rebuild our middle class together. We'll keep making Boston stronger together. And we'll keep making America great together. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm also honored to introduce the president of the Firefighters, Local 718 right here in Boston, one of the most dynamic leaders. Let's give it up for Rich Paris, president.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thanks very much. Good afternoon, brothers and sister union workers. How you doing today? Thanks for showing up. It's important. I have 2,800 members. I grew up in a union house. I knew it was about my father going out to work every day, earning money to put food on the table, clothes on our back. My house is the same. My kids are in the union. My brother and sister firefighters, thank you for coming out today from the city of Boston all the way to the state. All the brother and union sisters and brothers that came out today, you deserve a pat in the back. Give yourself a round of applause right now. At this time, I want you to hear from a rank and file member of my union. He has 30 years in the job. His daughter Michelle's right along with him. She's involved in the unit with the water and sewer. Right now, I'd like to introduce a guy over 30 years in the Boston Fire Department. When we needed to be on the streets, Johnny McDougal was there. This kid is 100% union. I want to hear what he has to say. Johnny, come on up. Thank you. All right, buddy. Good luck.
Thank you very much. As Richie said, I've been a Boston firefighter for 30 years. I'm a member of Local 718 of the International Association of Firefighters. And because I have a good union job, I've been able to support my family, buy my own house in the Rosendale section of Boston, while my wife was able to stay home and raise our 4 daughters, one of whom is with me here today, Local Lodge 100 machinist. My job provided stability and a decent life for my family, something we all want, and I don't think it's too much to ask. As a union firefighter, as a union, we fight hard to make sure our members have good benefits, are well-trained, creating a stable and experienced firefighting force. ensuring that our community receives the best services available. My local lobbies up at the State House for adequate funding, securing our labor rights, and fending off assaults on our benefits. Any of you in the GIC know what I'm talking about. My international lobbies Congress for all of us and provides training for those departments that might otherwise lack the resources. As firefighters, we rely on each other to get the job done. Failure is not an option. We must work together because none of us can do it alone. This Janice case is part of a well-funded campaign by special interests to divide us from our co-workers. If the Supreme Court sides with the wealthy special interests, it would hurt the ability of public service workers to advocate for the highest level of services, and it would undermine our unity. As firefighters, we are stronger together. As union members, we are even stronger. And all of society benefits from our efforts. Thank you very much.
Johnny, good job. Thank you, John. Before we introduce our next speaker, I have some people that I do have to introduce. We have a lot of AFL-CIO vice presidents here. We have some gubernatorial candidates. I'd like to start with, I know that Jay Gonzalez is here. Where's Jay Gonzalez, candidate for governor? Right over there. I know he's been working the crowd. And also another Democratic candidate, Sonny Warren, mayor of Newton. I know we have a newly elected city councilor who never misses to stand up for working people, Eddie Flynn. I have a guy that wears more hats than anybody in the labor movement. He's a general secretary treasurer of the AFL-CIO, Louis Mandarini. We have some national leaders here, of course, our very own executive secretary treasurer of the firefighters nationally, Eddie Kelly. We're going to get this up here a little bit. It'll be up there. It is. I know we also have the national president from NAGE, David Horway, right over here. And Jimmy Farley, his secretary treasurer, right beside him. Brothers and sisters, we have Jay Colbert, as you met, executive vice president. We have Rich Rogers, as you heard from, vice president of the AFL. We have Pete Capano, vice president of the AFL-CIO. We have Mike Vadabadian from the Fighting Machinists from the AFL-CIO. We have Colleen Glynn from IATSE, who gave us this great sound system. How about Darlene Lumbos? Where is she? Head of Clue and our vice president on our board. Sean Neely from the Iron Workers. Richie McKinnon, state president. Where's Richie? Right there. A great leader. Jimmy O'Brien from the Commons Union. Right over there, Jimmy. Bobby Butler from the sheet metal workers. Bobby, thanks for being. Let's give it up for Butler. Brian Christo. Alan Lee. Brian Doherty. AFT, great leader, Tom Gosnell. From New Hampshire, we have the state fed president, Glenn Brackett. Glenn, where are you? Thanks for being here. From the steelworkers, Stevie Finnegan. We have Jimmy Pinkham right up here. The CLC president does a great job. Jimmy, thanks for joining us. Executive vice president of the Building Trades, Frankie Callahan. Peter, we got Peter already. That's it. Danny Ryan, state representative. Where's Danny Ryan? I know a lot of reps. Thank you, Danny, for your good work. Charlie Owens, the biggest and most important right there from AFSCME, Charlie Owens. And if there's more I missed, we'll get them. Marjorie Decker, another great state representative from Cambridge, and a hard-working mother working, giving her best at both. So, brothers and sisters, there's one person who has to be introduced who worked her heart out for the last several months. She gave her heart and soul to give this the success it is. And then without further ado, let's give it up for Enid Eckstein, who worked her heart out. Where are you? Thank you, Enid. Now, there's another executive vice president that I didn't introduce, and I'm going to get her right up here now. Working with Tom Gosnell and the teachers, they beat back a question that they were supposed to start the destruction of working teachers in 2016. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce the president of the MTA and executive vice president of the Massachusetts AFL-CIO, Barbara Mataloni, a great leader. Hoo-ah!
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. I'm going to be like Steve. Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. All right, there we go. We are gathering today to show the billionaires like the Kochs and the backers of the State Policy Network and our own Pioneer Institute that no matter what they throw at us, we're going to show the world that we are strong and we're going to stick to the union. We know that our power is in our solidarity, right? But it's also good to have the right people in our corner. And we sure are fortunate to call Senator Elizabeth Warren a friend and an ally. Senator Warren stands for working men and women, for labor unions, and stands up to both the billionaires on Wall Street and the bully in the White House. Senator Warren has said labor unions built America and we will rebuild it now. She knows that labor unions are essential for giving workers a voice and real power to stand up for ourselves, our families, and our communities. She knows that it is through strong labor unions that we make a better world for everyone. On behalf of the 110,000 members of the Massachusetts Teachers Association, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our next speaker, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
That was fabulous. Thank you. Woo! Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Hello, brothers and sisters. It is good to be here. You know, I am so pleased to be at this rally because we're here to rally for working people. We're here to rally for police and firefighters and teachers and nurses and librarians and trash collectors and public transit workers and machinists and all of our public sector workers. Yeah. But we're here to talk about workers' rights and to fight for workers' rights. We are here to fight for the right to bargain for pay. Are we for that? You bet. We are here to fight for the right to negotiate for benefits. We for that? And we are here to fight for the right for workers to be treated with basic dignity. Are we for that? You know, I grew up in a family that respected hard work. My daddy ended up as a janitor. My mama worked a minimum wage job at Sears. All three of my brothers headed off to join the military. I learned a lot of lessons from my brothers, but I want to tell you just one of those lessons. That is my middle brother, John, who is retired today and has a pension today because he belonged to a union. He taught me unions built America's middle class. That's how it happened. And we're here today because working people in America are under attack. Janice, this decision that's coming before the United States Supreme Court is just the latest attack. But for years, big corporations, billionaire donors, and their Republican allies have launched one assault after another against unions and against working people. It has been a coordinated attack. Keep in mind that they kept open a Supreme Court seat for a year while President Obama was in the White House, refused to even give a hearing to the man he nominated to the Supreme Court. And why did they do it? So they could get their nominee onto the Supreme Court. And today, they're hoping to cash in on their investment. The very same day that the Supreme Court announced that it would hear the Janus case, where was Justice Gorsuch, that Supreme Court justice who got the seat that was stolen from the Democrats? I'll tell you where he was. He was speaking at a luncheon at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., a luncheon funded by Charles Koch and by the Bradley Foundation. You know why they're booing? These are two openly anti-union groups. This was a blatant conflict of interest, and he was so arrogant, he didn't care. He went out and was not only present at the luncheon, he was the keynote speaker at the luncheon. Corporations and anti-union forces are doing everything they can to tilt the scales in their favor. But I want to be clear about this. We're here today because we have not given up. We're ready to fight back. Are we ready? We're here today to call on the Supreme Court to make the right decision. Instead of doing the bidding of those with money and power, the court can defend justice for the workers. 40 years ago, the United States Supreme Court unanimously decided that we can protect individuals' freedom of speech and protect the freedom of workers to form strong unions. We ask the court today to reaffirm that right for all workers in America. We stand together as union members and as supporters of the labor movement because we know what we believe and we know why we fight. We believe that public sector workers like police officers, firefighters, teachers, and nurses do hard, important work that strengthens our communities and that they have a right to bargain collectively, and we are willing to fight for it. Yes. We believe that government should not be for sale to the highest bidder and that government should work for working people, and we are willing to fight for it. And most of all, we believe that unions built America's middle class and unions will rebuild America's middle class. You bet. Thank you for joining us today. It is an honor to fight alongside you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator. We also have Executive Vice President Eddie Doherty, I see, has joined us, former head of the teachers in Boston. And our Governor's Counselor, Marilyn Devaney, who is always there for working people. Brothers and sisters, I am truly honored and proud to introduce Lee Saunders, the international president of AFSCME, the largest public sector union in the national AFL-CIO. Brothers and sisters, Lee Saunders knew years ago that the billionaires and corporate special interests were coming after public sector unions, and he launched AFSCME Strong with the goal of having 1 million conversations with AFSCME members in the workplace. Here in Massachusetts, under the leadership of AFSCME 93 Council Executive Director Frank Maroney, the union has met the challenge head on, and AFSCME is well on the way to reaching their goal. Brothers and sisters, please join me in welcoming the most effective, the most respected labor leader in the country, AFSCME President Lee Saunders.
Good afternoon, Boston! I didn't hear you. Good afternoon, Boston! Are you fired up? Are you fired up? Are you fired up? All right, that's a little better. You know, sisters and brothers, we've got a lot at stake right now. We've got enemies who want to cut us off at the knees. So I've got a question. Are you ready? Are you ready to stand up for freedom? Are you ready to stand up for working families? Are you ready to stand up for unions? We're ready to rock and roll. You know, I've got a feeling that things are changing. Things are changing. People are coming together. People are fighting back. People are making their voices heard every single day, and the trade union movement is right behind them doing that. That is what the trade union movement is all about. We're fighting for freedom, fighting for working families, whether they're in unions or not, fighting and making our voices heard every single day. And sisters and brothers, we are not alone. I was in New York on Saturday, where we had 6,000 trade unionists, community partners, progressive allies, and we said we're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we have had enough. Haven't you had enough? Haven't you had enough? We had rallies, just as you're having major rallies in this state. We had rallies all across the country with community organizations, the labor movement coming together, saying that we deserve a seat at the table. And that's what this is all about. It's having a seat at the table, not letting Goldman Sachs or the Koch brothers take our power away from us. Damn it, we will not let that happen, will we? We aren't letting that happen at all. So that's what this rally is about today. Now, you've heard a number of speakers talk about Memphis, Tennessee, and what happened 50 years ago. I always say this in my speeches, but sisters and brothers, in order for us to know where we're going, we've got to understand where we came from. 1,300 African-American sanitation workers 50 years ago in the Deep South. They were tired. Tired of being called boy. Tired of seeing two of their sanitation brothers crushed to death in a sanitation truck. So they said they weren't taking it anymore, and then went on strike 50 years ago. And Dr. King was watching because he was planning the Poor People's March. And Dr. King decided that he would travel to Memphis because he understood this. He understood the connection between labor rights and civil rights and economic rights and human rights. He understood that connection. So he traveled to Memphis. And you all know the story. Those sanitation workers galvanized a community, and they walked around carrying signs that simply said this: I am a man. And Dr. King ultimately gave his life in support of those sanitation workers. We're going to commemorate that day in Memphis this year. But sisters and brothers, commemoration is good. We should always understand where we come from. But this should not only be a commemoration, this has got to be a call to action in Boston, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Toledo, Columbus. This has got to be a call to action. Now, I flew up from Washington, D.C. this morning, where the Supreme Court heard the presentation from both parties on the Janus case. Those presentations are over with right now, but our fight and our struggle continues. You know, this case isn't about free speech. This case is about political power. This case is about those who have wealth and power in this country. They want more wealth and power at the expense of all of you. And you know what I say, sisters and brothers? They can go straight to hell because we're fighting back like never before. This is no legal argument that they're making. All they care about is more money for themselves and taking power away from you, taking those freedoms that you have fought for, and our sisters and brothers have fought for so many years. They aren't just going after unions. They're going after everyone who stands in their way, stands in the way of what they perceive to be that power that they have and the privilege that they have, stopping us from having that seat at the table. The same people, and I want you to get this connection, the same people that want to take our rights away from us as union members also want to trample on voting rights. They want to trample on immigrant rights. They want to trample on women's rights. They want to trample on our rights, and we can't let them do that. That's why this gathering here in Boston is so important, and the gatherings taking place across this country. You know, this is a city that knows a few things about freedom. It was right here in Boston 250 years ago that patriots organized and agitated for freedom, helping give birth to our great nation. As I said, I was in New York, in Lower Manhattan, on Saturday, where the Freedom Tower now stands as a symbol of our nation's resolve following 9/11. Sisters and brothers, it is up to us. It is up to us to rewrite that new chapter and to write a new chapter in the struggle for freedom in this country. Are you with me in rewriting and writing a new chapter? Are you with me to have the freedom that we all need to send our kids to school, to have health care, to have retirement security? That's what this fight is all about, sisters and brothers. There's a new wave going on in this country, and you're a part of it. You are a part of it. It starts today here in Boston, and it will move forward. We are ready. Are you fired up? Are you fired up? Are you fired up? Let's get the job done. Thank you very much. Now, before I lose my voice completely, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a proud AFSCME member who's an everyday hero. And she never quits. She's a lifelong Boston resident, a community activist in the South End. She works for the City Elderly Commission, is a shuttle driver, helping seniors get to their medical appointments across the city. In the 4 years she has been an AFSCME member, she has been rising up, and she is now the president of Local 445. Give her a round of applause for that. She is a fierce advocate for her members, making sure they have a voice on the job and that they have that seat at the table. Sisters and brothers, put your hands together for Renee Salters. Renee.
Little people problems. Thank you so much, President Saunders, and good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon. I don't hear those folks over there. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon. I am a proud Boston resident and president of AFSCME Council 93, Local 445, representing 229 members. I am a senior shuttle driver from the Elderly Commission. We provide a key lifeline for our city's seasoned residents who may not have transportation to and from their medical appointments. Our local represents public workers, the people who plow and sweep the streets, pick up the trash, operate the bridges, and the sanitation operations. Our members, much like the men who demonstrated in Memphis 50 years ago for the freedom to join a union, for fair wages, for safe working conditions, and respect on the job. Our membership, mostly men of color, understand the importance of that fight years ago and know that with the union, however tough their job, they have gained dignity and respect. Our members, represented by a union contract, earn a modest living and benefits and can support their families. They have union protection against unfair labor practices. Just like our brothers did 50 years ago, we raise our voices today against the rich and powerful who want to defeat our unions. We're here today to defend our gains and to make sure corporate giants and the Supreme Court do not take away our hard-earned victories. We are not going backwards. Without strong public sector unions like AFL-CIO, many workers of color would not have made the advances they have made in the last 50 years. Through our union, AFL-CIO, we have made progress. And we are here today to stand strong. We are here today to speak out in a single strong voice to protect our families, our jobs, our futures, and to say we are not going backwards. We are fighting for a secure future for ourselves and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Real quick, I want to give another shout out to another labor leader I saw in the crowd. I saw Teamsters Local 122 President John Murphy here. Also, I'd be remiss if I did not mention someone who could not be here. Attorney General Maura Healey, who leads what she calls the People's Law Firm, and we all know what she's done for combating things like wage theft and helping us with earned sick time. Well, Maura also wrote a very nice amicus brief in support of the working people in this Janus case. She is on the steps of the Supreme Court as we speak, outside while the case was being heard. Next up, I want to introduce a man who also needs no introduction. He's been advocating for over 40 years down in Washington, D.C. as a strong, strong advocate and champion of workers' rights. First as a 37-year congressman, and then as a senator since 2013. Ed Markey has always supported strong education for our children, proper patient health care for our sick and elderly, firefighter training and police training and safety conditions, and also for funding social services that so desperately need the funding. Ed has been a champion, like I said, for over 40 years down there. He's a welcome addition to this lineup, and please welcome up Senator Ed Markey.
Thank you, Jay. And we thank all of you who have gathered here today, because we are at the heart of this battle, because this country owes a great debt of gratitude to the union leaders and the members who are here this afternoon. You are the heart of America's labor movement. You are the ones who fight tirelessly every day to raise wages, create jobs, improve the lives of the workers in Massachusetts and throughout the country. Yes, we believe in capitalism in Boston, but we believe in capitalism with a conscience, and the union movement is the heartbeat of the conscience of the United States of America. It has been the union movement that has ensured that we provide protections for every family in our country. You have done more to build up the lives of the great people of this country than any project Donald Trump ever filed Chapter 11 for. You have done more to ensure that every person receives the benefits. You are the ones who fought for quality, affordable health care here in Massachusetts, which became the law for the entire country. You are the ones who fought for earned sick time in Massachusetts. You won that battle here. We have to win that battle across the whole country. You are the ones who fought for the highest minimum wage of any state in our country. You fought that battle. We must now win that battle in Washington, D.C. You have had these historic victories, but we are all know that your great work is not done. As the Supreme Court hears arguments in the Janus versus AFSCME case, we must remember that this case is an attack on working people brought by billionaires. And make no mistake, Donald Trump and his Republican Party want to break every single union that exists today and make sure that no one can organize tomorrow. Citizens United was the first blow. Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission is really Corporations United versus the Federal Election Commission. It is intended to strip away protections from workers and to make corporations more powerful in their ability to reduce benefits for workers across our country, reduce protections for workers across our country. That is what the Janus decision is all about. It is intended to finish the job, to make sure that there is even less protection that workers can provide for every person in our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time, this is the place. You are the people. We must stand up, we must fight. We cannot lose this election in 2018. We need to win the United States Senate. Elizabeth Warren must go back, and we must win a majority so that Donald Trump can. We must win the Senate so that Donald Trump cannot name any additional anti-union Supreme Court justices in the United States of America. We must ensure that this year the fight begins here in Massachusetts. They are not going to back down. Neither will we. We will never back down, ever. They know that we are going to fight twice as hard, twice as long, twice as smart. We're going to join AFSCME. We're going to join Lee Saunders, Frank Maroney. This is a suit brought against AFSCME, representing every single working person in our country. We are not going to stop until we win, to ensure that women are not paid just 70 cents on the dollar of a white man, that Latinas are not paid 65 cents, that black women are not paid 65 cents as well. We have to ensure that we stand up. It is immoral. It is unacceptable. We need change in our country. We need to stick together. We need to make sure that PLA stands for Protecting Labor's Achievements. We need to make sure that in every single one of these battles that we are up and fighting. My father was a local union president. He told me every single day of my life that the reason why we had better health care protections, higher wages, worker protections were the unions of our country. That's what changed the whole history of the working relationship between ordinary Americans and their country. It was the union movement. And now the Republicans have turned on the union movement in an effort to undermine this progress for the 21st century. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here today in Boston to say we have always been the center of the American Revolution, the abolitionist movement, the suffragette movement, the Affordable Care Act movement. We will not stop fighting. We are going to stand up until we beat Donald Trump and beat the Republican Party and his ability to name more Supreme Court justices. Let's get out there and fight as hard as we can. Thank you.
Can we give it up one more time for Senator Markey and all of the elected leaders who are standing here with us today fighting for working people? We'd also like to recognize one of the great labor leaders here locally, Bobby Dempsey from the Postal Workers, who's joined us. So thank you. Now, these attacks on labor and workers are not a time for us to mourn. It is actually a time to it's a call for action, a call to action, to mobilize, to organize, and to grow. And at the Boston Teachers Union, we are proud to have recently organized charter school teachers from City on a Hill to join us, and we welcomed them into our ranks. But we are not the only union that's organizing new workers. There's many of us out there growing at this time because that's what we need to do. All workers deserve a voice, and that's why workers are coming to us to have a voice. And so at this point, I'd like to call up Markey, who is an unorganized public defender trying to organize with SEIU 888. Where are you?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with all of these great labor leaders, community members. I'm an attorney. I'm a public defender in Boston. I've been a public defender for 8 years. And we represent working people at their most vulnerable. And if low-income people that don't have a lawyer, if they're charged with a crime, or if they're trying to take their kids away, or if they're trying to be committed to a mental institution, we represent them, and our support staff helps us do that. We also have the unique position, though, of being the only state agency of lawyers and legal workers who are not in a union. And we want that to end, and so we're working hard with Local 888 to have a union at the Public Defender's Office so that we can be paid commensurate with other state agency lawyers. We're the lowest paid attorneys in the state. So that we can also, though, and the teacher from BPS said earlier, it's not just about pay, it's about giving better services to our clients and our constituents. I'm a Boston public school parent, and I know that my kids get a better education because of the Boston Teachers Union. And we want our clients to get better representation because their lawyers and their paralegals and their social workers are organized. And so today, as the other side is trying to pass legislation, trying to use the Supreme Court to destroy the organized labor movement in America, we want to say we're fighting back, we're campaigning so that we can add 800 members of the Committee for Public Counsel Services to the public unions here in Massachusetts. It's a time to grow, and we're asking for support in our campaign. Thank you.
I say union power, you say worker power. Union power. Union power. Union power. Next, I'd like to call up Adriana Zwick, the president of DCF chapter of CIU 509. Please give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. Y buenas tardes a mis hermanas y hermanos. My name is Adriana Zwick, and I'm the president of the Department of Children and Families chapter of the Service Employees International Union Local 509. I am a proud member of Local 509, which represents over 20,000 public and private sector human service employees and educators. We not only advocate for our members, but we also advocate for our clients and their families across the Commonwealth. I am honored today to introduce you all to my sister from SEIU Local 509, Valerie Copeland. Valerie has served as a leader in her union for years and currently serves as vice president for the Mass Health chapter at Local 509. She's a leader in her faith community, and she's dedicated to social justice movements. Sisters and brothers, Valerie Copeland.
How you feeling? Do you feel as good as you look? Because you look amazing. You look strong. You look powerful. They should be afraid of us. Oh, yes. I just want to tell you a quick story. My dad was a railroad man, a union man. His union membership made a difference in the life of my family. You see, although my dad left school in the 8th grade, we had a good standard of living. His union job afforded us a house, cars, vacations, you know, what we've commonly come to know as the middle class life. And after 20 years on the railroad, he retired with a fully funded pension. I began working for the state 14 years ago. And as a mass health benefits social worker, I help people with acquired brain injuries to get the benefits they need to leave nursing home care and go back and receive services in the comfort of their home with loving family and community around them. When the state tries to initiate policies that are detrimental to our mass health customers, we push back and speak up because we state workers care about the people we serve. Unionized state jobs reduce turnover and allow us to provide consistent, high-quality services to the most vulnerable population in our society. I know that my job as a state worker is a good job, not because of the benevolence of the governor, but because it is a union job. I'm a proud member of SEIU 509, and I'm lucky to be part of the next generation of workers in my family that are union organized, and I'm fighting not to be the last. As I learned about the attack on public sector workers across the country, and I saw what other states pay for the same type of job I have, I didn't get angry. I got active. I embraced my union and began working to make it even stronger. How dare these special interests try to destroy my family's right to the American dream? I know that my union is fighting for middle-class wages, benefits, and protection against privatization. As those in power want to defeat unions for public employees, weaken us so they can take away our jobs, I know we stand strong and prepared to push back. My union is working to improve the quality of life of working people across the Commonwealth, both union and non-union. What people don't understand, as unions raise the bottom for everybody. By pushing for increases to the minimum wage, paid family medical leave, and the rights of others to organize. We will continue to stick together. There is no court case, anti-union propaganda, or legislation that can stop us from organizing and joining together. We are fighting for respect and dignity for all working people, because when we fight, we win! ¡Se puede! ¡Se puede! ¡Se puede!
All right, so we are nearing the end of our program, and we just want to again thank everyone for being here. Because we're here today with our elected officials to defend the freedom to unite for a better life, and we will not be divided. We are here together to fight for good union jobs that create strong communities. This is an opportunity to build a stronger movement, and we will rise because we are stronger together. What are we? Let's try that again. What are we? One last time so everyone knows. All right, so Steve and I are going to close out with one last chant.
All right.
It's a classic. I think everyone knows this one.
The
unions united.
Let's go. The unions united
will never be divided. Unions united will never be defeated. Unions united will never be defeated.
United will never be defeated.
All right, thank you all for being here. We'll continue to fight together for working people and everybody.
Thank you very, very much. The fight begins. Thank you. Thank you, Jess. Well done.